Welcome to the Fear Network.
Welcome to the Horror News Show on the Fear Network. Today we're taking a look at the top stories from the last week of May. I'm Jerry. Let's see what the cat dragged in.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, neighbor. You see anything weird outside your house, you tell me, all right?
The Wretch is an IFC Midnight original, and lately it's been doing a lot of numbers in the box office. Not the typical box office that we know and love, going to the movie theaters. This one goes to the drive-in theaters. The Wretched is about a young teenage boy dealing with the pending divorce of his parents, and he soon discovers that living next door is a 1,000-year-old witch. Over Memorial Day weekend, it made a good deal of money, raking in $236,334, bringing its drive-in movie theater box office income, that's a mouthful, to nearly $600,000 in its 4 weeks release. That's an amazing accomplishment, especially going on right now and solely relying on drive-in theaters. That's awesome. This movie has my attention. I can't wait to try to find a place to see it. This week we got a quick update from the Chucky TV series being handled by Don Mancini. Speaking of Sci-Fi Wire, Don Mancini says the show will pretty much be 100% puppet. To me, that's exciting. My favorite ones are the puppet animated Chucky movies. The reboot tended to look very CGI, although there was some real puppet work there. It looked very CGI. I'm very excited to see what Don Mancini has to do with his series. For those who don't know, Don Mancini helmed the first 7 Chucky movies, starting of course with Child's Play, until it was rebooted in 2019 against his wishes and the original cast. It didn't do very well in the box office. Chucky has a different goal in the TV show, according to Don Mancini. He says, the TV show Chucky has a goal that he's never had before. It's something specifically that is designed to evoke something that is going on in the current zeitgeist of media. I have no idea what that means. I mean, I know what zeitgeist means and all that, but that is so open-ended. It could literally mean anything. It could be dealing with COVID. It could be dealing with rioting. It could be dealing with the political atmosphere. Who knows? But since Don Mancini's back involved with it, I'm very excited. And he also hints at returning characters from previously in the series. Count me in for this show. Blumhouse is at it again. This time Blumhouse TV is adapting their 2018 sci-fi thriller Upgrade into a TV show. It would be headed by Tim Walsh, who previously worked on Treadstone, Chicago PD, and Shooter, the adaptation of the movie starring Mark Wahlberg. Upgrade the TV show takes place a few years after the movie and hopes to expand on the universe that was created. Original director and creator Leigh Whannell is set to come back as executive producer and director. No word is set to how many episodes he will direct, have it be the pilot episode to set the tone of the franchise going forward, or if he's in it for the long haul for the project. I'm very excited to see what they have in store. Speaking of Blumhouse and Leigh Whannell and their success in their adaptation of The Invisible Man that recently came out on DVD, we received word of the next Universal Monsters project that Blumhouse is working on. This week, Variety is reporting that pretty boy Ryan Gosling is attached to star in the adaptation of Wolfman. Not much is known yet about the project besides the fact that Ryan Gosling pitched the project himself to Universal and Blumhouse. And it would be written by Lauren Strucker Bloom and Rebecca Angelo, who previously worked on Orange is the New Black. Invisible Man was a successful movie in terms of both box office and fan reception. I myself loved it. I took a friend to go see it. We were both scared when we were supposed to be scared, and it was a believable adaptation of The Invisible Man for modern times. Unlike the version The Hollow Man with Kevin Bacon that was released in the 90s. If you haven't seen The Invisible Man yet, it's out on DVD. It's definitely worth a shot. It's a very claustrophobic movie, and it deals with green lighting, so if those are issues of yours you're currently having, I would avoid it. But it's worth the watch, and it's so entertaining, it's so well done, I can't recommend it enough. Every week we like to take a deeper dive into a news story to figure out all the inner workings of it and see what's really going on. We call that segment the Autopsy. This week on the Autopsy, we're not looking at one particular story, but the idea of a story. That idea is, what can we do in June? We're going to be taking a look at new releases coming soon to DVD, video games, books. What's new in theaters in a home near you? Coming soon to Shudder on June 11th is a documentary about Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and it starred Mark Patton coming to terms with being the first male Scream queen.
In the midst of the 1980s, no one was scarier than Freddy Krueger.
I love Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, I was obsessed, loving Freddy Krueger, loving A Nightmare on Elm Street.
But part 2 came along and it was just a strange movie.
For a lot of us, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was our introduction to, like, a lot of gay in that movie.
It's kind of a siren song for the queer horror community.
Mark Patton's, he's a Scream queen.
Some of the circumstances around the making of this film created a lot of hurt for him.
I was not an out gay actor in Hollywood in 1985. I was a gay person, and I was living in terror.
In the 1980s, to be queer was to be this sort of diseased pariah. I think, in a way, Mark Patton paid the price for that.
It was on the page of the script, and I knew we were treading in there.
This is not a delusion that I'm having. You filmed in one of the biggest gay bars in Los Angeles.
Oh, was that a gay bar?
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
Also coming to Shudder June 18th, we have a movie called Scare Package. Scare Package is a horror anthology from 7 directors dealing with 7 different themes of the horror genre. It's set to premiere on Shudder, and I can't wait for it. The premise of the movie, interlocking all the stories together, it's being told by Chad, the owner of Rad Chad's Horror Emporium, and telling his newest employees all the tropes and rules of horror. It reminds me a lot of Scream because Randy always dealt with the rules of surviving a horror movie, and this movie looks funny, gory, and super entertaining. Take a look.
It's the Devil's Lake Impaler.
It's not over. He can still come back.
I'm pretty sure something bad happened here.
You don't understand! You have to kill me now!
You okay? Picking up hitchhikers is dangerous business. It's how horror movies. It's like you're having a rough night.
It's 11 a.m.
Hi, I'm hunting a creature, well, a man. Maybe you've seen him?
How are we gonna fix this? I'd like to rent a wood chip.
We are in a horror movie!
See the final girl, huh? It's cool.
Notable entries to Netflix this upcoming month. On June 5th, Netflix will be getting Silence of the Lambs, the Anthony Hopkins movie, and they will also be getting the 3 seasons of Hannibal, the TV show.
I'm not so sure that I know who you are anymore.
Are you a killer, Will?
I can see you now.
What do you see?
If you haven't seen Hannibal, the TV show, it's a very dark take on it, which I'm not sure how much darker you can take the Hannibal cannibal story, but they do it so well. The body horror and everything, it's really well done. Definitely worth a check out. Speaking of the works of Thomas Harris, the author behind Silence of the Lambs and Red Dragon, we did get plot details for the upcoming CBS show Silence of the Lambs. The TV show takes place a few years after the events of Silence of the Lambs, and it follows the career of Clarice Starling.
Hello, Clarice.
As she discovers and hunts down other predators. Since it takes place in this time period, I'm going to be surprised if we see Hannibal, because he's currently on the run, at least in other adaptations he is, or in the books. But how can you have a TV show, Silence of the Lambs, without Hannibal? So I'm curious to see how they work him into it. Hulu on June 12th will be getting the remake or reboot of Child's Play that we talked about earlier. Granted, it's not the Child's Play or Chucky we grew up with and love, but it's worth a watch. The gore scenes are gory, the comedy is alright for the Chucky series. It's definitely worth taking a watch on Hulu. Hulu will also be getting on June 18th Crawl. A movie about a giant alligator in a hurricane, and, well, you don't need more info than that. It's a giant gator movie. Go watch that! HBO Max at this time is in full swing, and on June 1st, they will be getting all of the Final Destination movies. Who loves those? Everybody loves those. It's a good get for the starting streaming service. And then on June 27th, they will be getting the director's cut of Dr. Sleep, the sequel to The Shining. On June 16th, we'll get the release of the book De-Evolution, the first-hand account of the Rainier Sasquatch Massacre. I'm sold already. Take my money. I'm a huge Bigfoot fan. That's all I needed in a title. It's wonderful. Okay, but I guess you want to know more about it. So De-Evolution is written by Max Brooks, the guy who wrote World War Z. And the movie and the book of World War Z are completely different. The book follows a reporter as he figures out the different stages of the zombie apocalypse that has already came and went. It's a first-hand account telling, and it's fantastically written, and it sucks you in. The movie's good as well, but not as good as the book. So I'm excited to see what Max Brooks does with a story about Bigfoot. In the same vein as World War Z, De-Evolution's about an author who finds a journal of Kate Holland, who documented the attack of a Bigfoot on a town. The author does his own research, verifies the events, and wants to publish a book to tell the world the scariness and the true facts behind the attack of Bigfoot. Again, I'm sold. I don't need to know any more information. Bigfoot attacks. Done. Signed. Seal it. Take my money. On June 30th, we'll get the next book released from Riley Sager. This time he's writing a book called Home Before Dark. The book is about a woman who returns to the house her father made famous in his horror memoirs. Is the house really haunted? Is there something earthly-like taking effect? Is there big boogeymen behind the curtains? What's going on in this haunted house? To me, this sounds like an episode of Scooby-Doo. To me, that's a great selling point. Riley Sager writes fantastic work. I love Final Girls. I love the trope of Final Girls. I'm excited what he does with this. So look for that on June 30th. Coming soon to DVDs, on June 2nd, we got the DVD release of Creepshow Season 1. We also have the release of Witches in the Woods. On June 9th, we get the DVD release of The Hunt, another Blumhouse movie. The Hunt had a rocky road to start with. Originally, it was set to release in theaters September 27th of 2019, but it was pushed due to the real-life shooting, and they thought it wasn't a good time to release this type of movie. Soon after its release, it was pulled from theaters because all the theaters shut down because of COVID-19. They did a digital release on March 20th, and now it's coming out on DVD on June 9th. It's a fun movie. It's another take on The Most Dangerous Game with the Blumhouse twist on it. I'm sold. I'm sold at this point. Blumhouse, put your stamp on something, you have my money. Coming soon to a theater in your home, we have on June 5th, Becky, starring Kevin James and Lulu Wilson.
Search continues for 4 inmates who escaped federal custody this morning. Authorities say the men are armed and extremely dangerous.
Jeff, this gentleman lost his dog.
Okay, well, why don't you give us your number?
My dog is a Rottweiler. Purebred, or as the Germans call them, Rottweiler Metzgerhund. That's why you never let them mate with other breeds. You get the worst of both.
Okay, I think it's time for you to go.
I'm looking for a key. It has this symbol engraved on it. You seen it? No. Well, that leaves little Becky.
Once was a little girl.
Becky!
And she was good.
Stop running!
She was very, very good. And when she was bad, she was horrible.
I don't want to have to hurt you.
But I do want to hurt you real bad.
I am beyond stoked for this movie. When I first saw the trailer, I was not prepared for it. It was Kevin James in a serious role. I hadn't seen that before. This movie proves Kevin James is a phenomenal actor outside the comedy bits. Of course, he's famous for King of Queens and Adam Sandler movies, so I wasn't really prepared for his seriousness. He plays a skinhead. He scares me in this role. I am so excited to finally see this movie on June 5th. Coming soon to video games near you, Last of Us Part 2 on the PS4 is set to release June 19th. This game has been pushed and pushed and pushed, and finally we're close enough to the release date, I think it might actually come out.
I'm leaving tomorrow.
To do this smart, we'd be leaving Jackson vulnerable.
So they just get away with this?
How'd you find us?
You can't stop this.
Well, that's everything coming out in June 2020. I'm personally looking forward to Becky, the movie starring Kevin James, and the book about Bigfoot, De-Evolution. He's a good friend of mine. If he's watching, I'm your #1 fan. Well, those are the major news stories for the last week of May. We got a lot of Blumhouse stuff coming out, and I'm okay with that because they put forward good product. Thank you for stopping by the Horror News Show on the Fear Network. I'm Jerry. As always, remember Randy's 3rd rule.
Never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
So until next time.